Good morning. Welcome to Heart and Soul Center of Light. My name is Ron Marshall, and I'm a licensed practitioner and founding member at Heart and Soul, and I'm honored to be facilitating our meditation experience this morning. This morning, we're taking the opportunity to immerse ourselves in stillness so that we may connect with the knower within in order that it may be our guide during this time of change. So wherever you are, I invite you to make yourself comfortable so that you may be open to divine guidance. Know that right where you are, God is, and therefore it is safe and sacred space. If you're willing, I invite you to gently allow your eyes to close and take this opportunity to relax and let go of all that has happened up until this moment. Now join me in taking a deep, conscious breath. Breathe in and release with a sigh. Now give thanks for your breath as you gently allow it to return to its natural rhythm. Take a moment to notice the path that your breath takes through your body. While the path our breath takes, like each of us, is unique, every breath is one with the one breath which is breathing us all. Allow your breath to be an ever-present reminder of your oneness with Spirit and its ever-availability as a guide and source of inner peace, love, and clarity, regardless of outer circumstances. As we enter the stillness, remember to focus on your breath. And as our guide, I offer this affirmation. I have been that I have been. I am that I am. And I will be what I will be simultaneously. I have been that I have been. I am that I am. And I will be what I will be simultaneously. I now invite you to return your awareness to the space that you are in. To do so, you might focus on your feet and notice and feel the support of the surface beneath. You might gently rub your palms together and begin to expand your awareness and feel the space around you. When you're ready, I invite you to gently allow your eyes to open. This completes our meditation experience. And so it is. Thank you for creating this safe and sacred container of love for our service this morning. We have a wonderful opportunity during these times to spend more time being still and renewing our connection with the One. And I invite you to do so whenever and wherever possible. It has been a pleasure and an honor to facilitate this morning's meditation. Thank you.
Good morning, family, and welcome to Heart and Soul Center of Light's virtual Sunday service this beautiful Sunday, June 14th. My name is Sonia Russell, and I am a licensed practitioner and proud founding member of Heart and Soul Center of Light, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you and let you know how, during this time, you can be further engaged with Heart and Soul Center of Light. I want to let you know and remind those of you who have been with us before that our theme for 2020 is Adventures in Faith, Expect a Miracle. And we are continuing to spend our days working through Marian Williamson's A Year of Miracles, which is a daily read that we invite you to be with us on. We're inviting you to be connected with us on all of the ways that you can be connected: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We're also on Twitter, and you can find us on various podcasts across the internet. We are also deeply engaged in our community affirmation family. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. I want to remind you that there are different ways that you can give at Heart and Soul, and call your attention to the bottom of the screen where you can text to give, or at any time during our service, visit our website to give. And there are many seamless ways that you can give. And we want to make sure that you know how to stay more fully in touch with us by signing up for our service recap, which will each week give you any events we have coming up, any broadcasts we have coming up, classes, all of those things, as well as copies of the service on any of the slides or videos we've used. And so we want to make sure that you sign up and that you are more specifically connected to Heart and Soul. We want to let you know that our practitioners are still engaged in a Year of Miracles review, which is our annual read every Monday night in June from 6:30 to 7:15. You can sign up at the link there. Also, you can sign up by visiting our website. Once you sign up once, you'll get a reminder before each of the sessions that lets you know that you've signed up. So make sure that you sign up and spend that time with us delving more deeply into this read. We want to make sure that we lift up our beloved Tammy Hall, who is doing live broadcasts on Thursdays from 6 to 8 Pacific time via Facebook Live, you can visit her Facebook page to receive all the additional details you need to participate. Heart and Soul is conducting its first virtual Path to Membership experience, and that is happening next weekend, Friday the 19th from 6:30 to 9:30 Pacific time, and then Saturday, June 20th from 9:30 to 12:30 Pacific time. You must attend both sessions in order to become a member of Heart and Soul, and you can find all of the details you need at our website. I also want to make sure that you're still saving those dates for our virtual summer school. It has always been transformative. It is one of our favorite times of the year. And so we invite you to make sure that your calendar is fully booked with that 6:30 session beginning on July 8th. And we want to continue to lift up Marcus Bookstores and their 60th anniversary fundraiser. You can find out more information by visiting GoFundMe, searching Marcus Bookstores. And we want to make sure that you're still engaging with Kingston 11. They have an amazing Jamaican cuisine there, and we want to make sure that they stay available to serve as the town's gathering space once we are gathering all again. So we want to make sure that you visit their website, kingston11eats.com, to support them. I want to make sure that you remember that our young people are still meeting virtually on Sundays. The Pulse, ages 13 to 18, and our Youth and Family, ages 4 to 12. You can email the respective groups to get access for your young people to participate. We want to make sure that our littles are staying engaged as well. And I want to make sure that you know that there is group prayer available following services by about 10 minutes. And then on Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Pacific time, we are also doing group meditation, and we're inviting you to get prayer in all the ways, because prayer works in everything. It will absolutely change your life. Reverend Andriette is our beloved speaker today, and Destiny Muhammad is our musical inspiration. We're super excited to support our sister. She is starting a virtual residency called Raise Karma, which is an artist collective. It's going to be happening via YouTube, and hers begins on June 25th. We're going to invite you to subscribe to the Raise Karma YouTube channel so that you can make sure that you are there and supporting our sister. And she today is accompanied with our fabulous Tammy Hall. Family, following our devotional time, there are a couple of slides that are designed to be read in preparation for our service this morning. So I wanted to let you know that. And then I'm inviting you to simply take a breath. At Heart and Soul, our vision is how we endeavor to show up on the planet. And so we like to make sure we're taking time to ground ourselves in that vision. So together, we are a loving and compassionate, world-class teaching and empowerment ministry. Through a consciousness of universal God presence, we release all resistance, separation, and fear. We claim our personal liberation and accept the eternal availability of joy, love, and abundance. Through our intention to be love and spread joy, we engender reflections of the same and more in others. Our ministry is a gift to the world, which expands through our practice and dedication. We welcome all people, and together we make a quantifiable, positive difference on the planet. And so it is. And so I invite you, family, to find your breath, allowing yourself to become fully present in this moment, recognizing, trusting, remembering to remember that there is just one life, and that life is God's life, and it is whole, perfect, and complete in nature and in form. This life permeates our beings. It is the life that animates us, that moves us, the life that rose the sun, the life that brings the rain, This life beats our hearts and circulates our blood. Our skin is made of stardust. I am one with the infinite power of the entire universe. Each and every one of us is one with the infinite power of the entire universe. And it is without exception, and it is regardless of the appearances. God is, we are, and all is truly well. And so it is from this place of knowing and trusting, this place of deep abiding faith, that I speak this word of blessing for our service this day. Remembering to remember to keep our hearts and minds open. Remembering to remember that we are the change that we want to see on the planet. Remembering to remember that we are in this love together. And so I know that this day, this time, this opportunity for us to connect as community is blessed. I know that our beloved Reverend Andriette brings her vulnerability and her power and her passion and her open mind and her open heart and her brilliance. I know that on this day, every heart and every hand that is in service of this community is blessed. Everyone here on their way, everyone who was elsewhere, everyone listening at a different time, everyone is blessed. I trust this, I accept it, I know it, and I give thanks for it. I give thanks for the technology that allows us to gather. I give thanks for everyone who has put in their time, put in their heart, the blood, sweat, and tears that we bring to allow our community to express itself more fully. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak this word and for the good sense to be grateful this day. And so it is with perfect gratitude that I simply release this word into the law, knowing that it is done, not only because I speak this word, but because it is written on our hearts. And so we simply allow it to be so now and forevermore. And so it is.
New day dawn. See hope on the horizon. See hope on the horizon. New day dawn. New day dawn.
Thank you, Destiny. Thank you, first of all, for writing the song. And thank you for being here this morning to share it with us. And thank you, Tammy, for adding to the mix in such a beautiful way. I'm truly touched by the meaning of the lyrics. It's a song, Destiny, that you wrote how long ago? About 15 years or more, somewhere in there. And yet today, hearing it today, it's saying something to me that I never heard before. It's always meant a lot to me. I always resonated with the song. But today, Heart and Soul, it's saying something more. Something, it's touching me, dare I say, more deeply. Let me just begin where my heart is. Father, Mother, God, living one, surrounding and enfolding the entirety of my life, of every situation and circumstance. It is from this awareness that I know and I know that I know that there is one life and that life is divine, it's whole, it's perfect, it's complete. It surrounds and enfolds the entirety of all humanity. And knowing that, I have hope. I have hope that there is a change and that hope plus the perseverance that is present leads us to truth and reconciliation, a divine collaboration, the likes of which we've never seen before on these shores. Oh, I'm rejoicing in the infinite possibility that always existed and yet is at its ripest. Ripe for the picking, ripe for the living, ripe for the being, ripe for the divine action required of each and every one of us. Oh, I'm grateful this morning. I'm grateful for the divine movement that I feel and that I know is available for all of us because what? There's only one of us in truth. That you do to the least of them, it's done to me. It's done to all of us. Such a simple lesson for us to get. This is our time for learning the essential lessons. And so I'm rejoicing that the teachers are present. What is the axiom? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Go on, teach, people. Teach. Because the student's ready. And for this too, I give thanks. And in gratitude, I just let go. I let go and let the divine operate in me and in my perception of how the world is ordered and what is unfolding, that I might see the light, the love. In gratitude, I release this word into the perfect activity of law, which I know is the love of God, and I let it be. If any of this resonates or lands in your heart in a loving place, I ask that you might join me in saying Ashe. Amen. And so it is. Yeah. So, look, today I want to begin by reminding us that this Friday, this coming Friday, Friday of this week, is Juneteenth, June 19th, 2020, where we celebrate 155 years of the initial Juneteenth, which in Texas was see, this is part of the history that when you understand, when you really shine the light on it, so it is that moment in history in 1865 when those individuals who were held enslaved in Texas were notified that the war had ended in April and they were free. And so, regardless if the war had ended the December before or the June before, and they were getting the word that they were free, that would be reason to celebrate. But I need you to hear that the folks who were enslaving them knew that they were free in April. You see, there's a reason that there... When we understand it, it supports us in recognizing it. You see, this is part of just the basic aspect of critical thinking. It's an understanding of what's happening here. And then we look at why is that happening? What's really happening here? Why is that? Who's benefiting from it? What can I know about this so that the next time I see it, I'll recognize it for exactly what it is. This is why my intention had been to have next Sunday be our Juneteenth, and it is, because I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I got to tag here and set up a foundation for us to establish that something happened there that was in addition to the celebration. Let's just pay a little attention to the dates and the intentionality of deception. The intentionality of the law saying free and the people who apply the law saying not so much. And the reason I want to start there is because I can already hear your critical thinking, your thinking about that. You're like, Rev, it's not so different now. Like, yeah, you're right. While the law says free, the law says human. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and they are. But not so much for you. Not in Oakland, not in Detroit, not in Atlanta, not in, name your city. And as we name, there's somebody who is in all 50 states who can give testimony that that's not how it's being applied, that there are systems in place that ensure that that will not be the collective experience. And yet, I see hope on the horizon. See, I know the history, and yet I see hope on the horizon. You see, I have to. Whew. You know what? Next week, I'm going to show you the act. That's how we're going to work that. Because right now, what I want us to work on or focus on, the work I'm doing right here before you, I don't know why I picked the time once I put on the mic to start working it all out, pulling my dress up over my head and such. But look, here's the thing I'm working out. I'm working out this notion of perseverance and still seeing hope. You know, I thought this morning while I was getting myself ready to, preparing myself to come here, I thought about how personally frustrated, and my level of frustration, let me just say, I'm not entering that in the frustration contest. I'm not at all. I'm saying mine, I'm just going to back up here and let y'all have that. Because so much has happened and is happening to so many of our brothers and sisters that my life experience really does not, I'm not entering that. If there's a competition for who has it worse, I'm not entering in it at all. I know that I am blessed beyond human measure. And I know that something's wrong with this system. And this morning, there was a moment when I looked in the mirror and I just thought, you know, Lord, how long? Because I can literally tick off. Well, I guess it's actually more than that. I remember in the spring of 1968, I was appointed to, I don't recall an election. I was appointed to the National Board for the YMCA. And I remember those national gatherings, those national board gatherings in different places in the United States. Those were the first flights. The first airplane flights I took was in that work with the YMCA. And what I recall is that what I was saying then, I'm still saying now. I'm not even going to do the math from 1968 to now, but I know it's over 50 years. And there's a part of me where my logic is like suspended. That what were we really doing that we're still having the same conversation? Well, I've come today to help us understand how it is that that's the case. I'm going to begin with Albert Einstein, who really puts a stake in the ground for us. When he says this, and I want you to see it also on the slide, can I just say, I know by now y'all have noticed that we have moved on. Let me just, forgive me, because I'm going to get right to the thing before us. But there's a moment where I just have to say, heart and soul, the team has worked night and day, day and night, praying and doing the work. I know by now you are noticing the difference. This is the tremendous financial investment and human resource investment and all of it. But I want you to know we're doing it for you. It's because we want you to have an experience where you can get all of this, as much of this as you possibly can, because the idea is, the invitation is not just to tune in and have a good time. It's not just that. It includes that. But my intention is that you walk away knowing something more, remembering something more, recalling something more, committed to something more, agreeing to something greater. That's the intention. And so we are pulling out all of the stops that you might have that as your experience. So, Albert Einstein said that the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. For too many of us, that's the story. The story is not just that it happened, but that there were witnesses. It's true for women and gang rape, where it's true too often. It's true for African Americans all the time. It's not that it's done in secret. You've seen the postcards and the memorabilia from lynchings. How could there be postcards and photographs and memorabilia? Except that there were witnesses. There were folks who picnicked while they were taking the life of another human. And yet, I see hope on the horizon. I need you to know it comes at a cost, though. But right now, I see hope on the horizon. Last week, I talked to you about the fact that our foundation is cracked. Now, I'm always baking some baklava here. So we're layering this thing together, that what Albert Einstein reminds us of is that's the crack in our foundation, that we somehow think it's okay to let it happen to somebody else and we see it, but as long as it's not happening to me or people who look like me or act like me, then I don't have any responsibility for it. I've come today to say that ain't so. We all, what's this notion of brothers keepers? We don't get to just pick the ones. That's the whole notion of that. There's a crack in our foundation. I referred you to, I assigned, now I'm trying to downplay it, from assigned to referred, and that's because when I watched it again, I forgot to tell you about the language. And so I'm trying to distance myself from having assigned such language to you. But here's what I need you to know. I didn't even remember the language because Hassan was speaking such truth when he spoke about George Floyd, and not just about George Floyd. That was the impetus for it. But he ended by reminding us of, he's really talking to his own people. He's talking to the broad cross-section of Asian folks all over the world. How do I know? Because he named the countries. He did not leave an Asian country out. And then he raised the curtain to acknowledge, you know how we talk about black folks? And then called them on it and said, cut it out. Here's what you need to remember. Here's what you need to consider is that they do, but we do, all of us at some point, or let me not implicate everybody, but most of us are often standing somewhere saying, but why can't they just obey the law? Why they got to do that part too? Why can't they behave better? But can I take it to the way it finally goes once we start that mess? We end up with, why her hair have to be so nappy? Why she have to wear ethnic clothes? Why can't they just fit in better? Why they have to behave like they're different? Without ever adding to that, because we treat them different. And here's the bust that he does. Is that there is nothing that gets us off. Ask the brothers who code switch. And whatever the drag is that's required, they're doing that. The college president, the college counselor, the dean, the executive, there is... Can I just invoke President Barack Obama? The demand that he present his birth certificate, there are no limits. It doesn't matter what you do, say, how you look. There are no limits, he says, because imagine that you lived in a country where the color of your skin got you killed, no matter what. It's a lawless country. There's no point, again, in looking at the victim, which is what we do. We master looking at the victim. Ask women who've been raped. Ask me how I know. Ask men who have been stopped for nothing. Ask children who are arrested in school. There's a crack in our foundation, y'all. Malcolm Gladwell introduces this concept in his book, David and Goliath, of the principle of legitimacy. And it really puts it where it belongs. It says that for every law, there's a responsibility for those that enforce the law, that they act like they know the law. But that's not been the case for black folks, because when we understand how policing began, the origin of what we call policing began with slave catchers. White landowners had no need for police because they were all in all. And between white men, they handled it themselves. White women did not count, let me just be clear. So white men just handled it about themselves, duels and such. But they needed a force. Why? Because they had millions of black folks enslaved. And so policing now, this is the evolution that began with slave catchers. And then once slavery was no longer the law, but was still practiced in a number of different forms, they became the ones who were at the state lines ensuring that you didn't claim your freedom. Because we need you here doing just what we brought you here to do. You think we go? Okay, Andrea, stop. The law must be predictable. And unfortunately, it is in its disregard for human life. Predictable in the sense that when a brother gets stopped, what plays through, ask any brother, lights in the rear mirror, what goes through their mind are these my last breaths? In that sense, the law is predictable. And often they live to tell it. But the authority has to be fair. That's what Gladwell tells us. And we know that's not our experience. I'm gonna invoke here for a quick moment Matthew 9:30. Open your eyes, because there's a truth for us to see. Dr. Kenneth B Clark, who was one of the people in the 60s he's a psychologist, was a psychologist, he has since passed, but he was called in as a psychologist to look at the various commission reports. And this, let me just share with you. Here's what he says. He says, I read the report of the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was as if I were reading the report of the investigating committee of the Harlem riot of 1935. The report of the investigating committee of the night of 1943, the report of the Macomb Commission of the Watts riot of 1965. He says, I must again, in all candor, say to you, it's kind of an Alice in Wonderland with the same moving picture reshown over and over again. And here's the thing. With the same analysis, the same recommendations, and the same inaction. I still see hope on the horizon. You know what? When I read this, because I did not know this before my preparation to bring you this message, what I gleaned was, oh, it's not that we don't know. See, this pulled the veil off entirely, because the game we've been playing is some folks just don't know. It's not understood what the problem is. So black folks have been sending representatives in to say, oh, here's what y'all don't understand. I'm done explaining pardon me. What's clear to me is that the issue is not that the problem is not understood. The commission reports going back to 1919. I need a mic I can drop. Because when you realize from 1919 to 2020, you don't even have to get nothing out to do that math, right? That little arithmetic we can do. 100 years of commissions and studying what it is. And he said in the 60s, it's the same conclusion. So folks are telling the truth as to what the problem is. They have always understood that more policing, arming more people is not the issue. That's not going to be a part of the solution. The solution is always going to be employment, and it's going to be education, and it's going to be housing. And those are the very things that systems have been put in place very specifically to ensure that certain folks do not have access to what? Education, employment, and housing, which is those are the very components to the solution. Where my mic at? I'm wanting to, the only reason I would drop a mic is so that it would stand out in somebody's mind who's trying to miss the point. That there would be something that would awaken, that would help each and every one of us to open our eyes. But look, I got to bring you this because sometimes Scripture speaks to folks in a way that can touch their hearts, where they can see what one of the things I love about it is the metaphor, is the allegorical nature of it, that means that it's a what I call a Martha and the Vandellas moment. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, because everybody's mind works on it. So I'm going to bring you again Matthew 9, but this time verses 16 and 17. Because if you can visualize with me this notion of a coat that is really worn out, and so the fabric is just thin, the fibers, and your idea is, well, we just go patch it. We know that there's a crack in the foundation. I know that I'm mixing metaphors here. We know that there's a crack in the foundation, but we're not going to fix it. We just going to spit on it. See how that works. And so the cloth is worn to a frazzle. The solution is not to go get a new piece of fabric and try to attach it to the old. Because ask anybody in your life who has ever sewn, they will tell you that ain't going to work. And I'm going to tell you it ain't going to work in policing either. It's not going to work in keeping people safe and honoring humanity. And as if that didn't deliver it, the master teacher Yeshua that the world ultimately came to call Jesus said, well, try this on. Not only can you not start patching old coats and trying to get away with the old with just a little new to it, you cannot put new wine, a whole new substance, into an old wine bag. Because here's the thing, that then there were animal skins. And so once they got worn to that point, they're brittle. And you start putting wine in it, and as it ferments, the dang thing explodes. Somebody translated it to spilled. It's going to explode in its own way. So the idea is that you're going to have to bring a new wineskin. Y'all know I'm not really talking about wine and coats. I'm talking about our systems, because that's the issue. That's what those commissions discerned, is that it's systemic. And that until we change the system of how we work with our cloth, until we change the system of how we put our wine, our full sustenance, until we shift that, we's in trouble. The shifting requires, at least from where I stand, that we reimagine and initiate systemic change. Okay, I'm going to go there. Let's show them the next slide. Somebody once said it's easier to, how does the thing, that's not even an axiom I use, to do the thing and ask for forgiveness later. Okay, I'm going to ask you to forgive me later, but you need to see this. When all you have is military accoutrement and big sticks and tanks, everything, when you are set up to look like the predator, everything looks like prey. You know, the axiom is, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's what we're dealing with. That this is not about individual officers. This is not, we're going to have to cut out the bad apple thing because that's just ridiculous. It's about a structure that's built on systemic racism. And can I just say this about, I have to, we might be here just a little longer today, y'all. Because there's just a little more I have to say. That Merriam-Webster has changed the definition of racism to include the systemic nature. There's a young sister whose name is Kennedy Mitchum. out of the St. Louis area. She just graduated. I was going to tell you what her, but I don't have that handy. And she said that while in school, she was forever being called out. People were sending her, cutting and pasting the Webster definition of racism because she was expanding it to systemic racism. And the way that I'm not calling you racist because you don't like black people and you don't have a black friend. It has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about systems of racism. And she was forever out there without a net. So she finally wrote to the Merriam-Webster people. And she was shocked when they wrote back. And they heard her. She then was in conversation with them, and they have changed it. They say that by August, they will have some examples because they've done the quick change to make some immediate shift in it. So this notion of systemic racism, it's a Martha and the Vandellas moment now. There'll be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's no longer a defense. I'm not personally racist. Nobody cares about you personally racist. We're talking about systemic racism and the way that it puts its foot on the entire, not just a race of people, but on humanity, because there's no way to do it to one and not do it to all. It's doing something. It's doing something. The thing that, although I have hope, I see the hope on the horizon, but I'm really concerned about officers who have served in the way that they have, perpetrating fear and humiliation and violence, that there's something that needs to happen with that. There's some healing, there's some reconciliation that is required for us as humans so that we can live here together in peace. For real. This is not just, let's just ignore that part and get right over here, because you got to fix the whole thing. That's the point of that. Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh, I got to tell you this John Oliver thing. John Oliver, I'm just loving him about now. One of the things he said is that if you said the name Macy's, or I'm going to say Target, more than you've said the name Breonna Taylor this week, he said, and likewise, if you ask why spontaneous, decentralized protest cannot control every one of its participants, more than you have asked the same question about a taxpayer-funded, heavily regimented, paid police force, then I'm going to add, you're a huge part of the problem. If your question is, why don't they stop them from doing that, then why are we not asking the question about policing? Why are they not stopping them from doing that? Because it's the same. If it's valid on the one hand, it's got to be more valid. I'm going to try to end this. It's not, well, I really am. Because I know it's just about time. Y'all got brunch and stuff to do. And I'm going to try to help you get to it. But look at here. I'm going to have to just say this because this troubles me a lot. Where the policing personnel, the response often is, I was afraid of the black man who had a phone or a shoe or whatever it was that was not a weapon. Or sometimes there's nothing to see. There's not even the implication. Amadou Diallo had a key and was trying to get in his own place. So if we have trained personnel who are that afraid of other humans, why is that not a defense for black men when they run? Or when they, I'd lose my mind. I mean, it would just be, you can just see that who knows what they would do under the circumstances. But there is absolutely no slack offered for those folks who come from groups who have been terrorized for hundreds of years. No slack. but for the rookie cop who's now terrorized by the very idea that your key could be a weapon, or that your phone could be, or the way that you moved, or your hands were in your pocket, or they weren't in your pocket, or you looked a certain way, or now that we're seeing protests, that you got close enough to me, seems to be sufficient reason. I guess I came to ask some of the questions this morning. I'm not pretending that I have answers, but I know we cannot go on like this. That much I know. Okay. Lastly, the fact that we must remind you that Black Lives Matter. Can I just say that the very fact that it has to be said or written or worn or posted, and then somebody wants to go, ooh, I beg your pardon. All lives matter. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just not, because y'all have already heard that that's ridiculous, because that's not what we're talking about. We're saying Black Lives Matter, agree or disagree. Changing the subject is not an option. And here's the thing. Matter is a low bar. Matter is a low, low bar. So I'm going to need us to check ourselves. That if we're upset that Black lives, what matter? Where else are we talking about just matter? What the heck does that, what's the definition of matter? It's not at the level of value. It's not at the definition of benefit. Black folks are on, we got here kidnapped and shipped because we were valuable. Because there was value in getting a labor force that would not die, no matter how badly they were treated, no matter what few resources, human resources were afforded them, no matter how little food or whatever scraps or waste they were given, they could still rise up strong and do all of the work and build all of the wealth. And now we're arguing about Black Lives Mattering. I'm done.
One, two, three, four. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to just be. Cast away the chains of doubt. Have the courage to be free. Don't share your lies with others' lies. See only what you want to see. Duplicate these simple truths. Have the courage to be free. Open your eyes, you can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. Oh, never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to just be. Cast away the stains of doubt. Have the courage to be free. Don't cloud your eyes with others' lies. See only what you want to see. You gotta duplicate this simple truth. Have the courage to be free. Oh, open your eyes, afraid to love. Never be afraid to love. Have the courage to be free.
Thank you so much, Destiny Muhammad, harpist from the hood. And thank you, Reverend Andriette, for that amazing message. Indeed, we stand as hope on the horizon. All of us, we are the ones we have been waiting for, the hope, the bright light, the signal on the hill that says we're beaconing a world that works for everyone. We're here to make a difference, and you can make a difference in this endeavor at Heart and Soul Center of Light through gracious giving. We have lots of ways in which you can give to Heart and Soul. You can mail a check to Heart and Soul Center of Light, 1001 42nd Street, Suite 100, Oakland, California, 94609. You can also give online, setting up a recurring gift if you choose, or even a one-time gift at heartsoulcenter.org/give. And of course, you can text the word give to 510-558-49, knowing that whatever way you choose to give is right and perfect, as long as we're activating that giving muscle, because we live in a reciprocal universe where we receive as we give. It's not transactional, it's just the way that it works. And at Heart and Soul Center of Light, we have a tradition of blessing our gift before it is given, thereby establishing the good that our gift will do in the world. And so wherever you happen to be in the world right now, I invite you to either take your gift in hand or just place your hand over your heart, knowing that the greatest gift that there could ever be is the gift of life that's beating right under your hand. And let us say our blessing together. I bless this gift as healing energy and send it into the divine flow of all good. Infinite prosperity circulates through me, through my church, and throughout the world, because I know God as source, and so it is.
Repeat it. Okay. Well, I'm going to read. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to just be. Cast away the chains of doubt. Have the courage to be free. Don't cast your eyes on others' lives. See only what you want to see. Duplicate this simple truth. Have the courage to be free. Open your eyes, you can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. You can fly.
Thank you, Destiny. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Heart and Soul. Your minister got a little worked up. Just a little tiny bit. Got a little worked up. She got a little inspired and impassioned. And this whole notion of opening your eyes and, as Destiny just sang, never be afraid to just be. Open your eyes and see the truth. Because it's from that point that we can truly stand in the fullness of the truth of our being. And so that's my prayer for all of us, that we open our eyes while on this what? Adventure in faith. Lord. But still, adventure in faith, and we are literally expecting a miracle. Part of the miracle is just how our services, our virtual services come together. I just want to acknowledge and celebrate the staff that is on site to make it happen, but also there's a group of folks who are moderating and are online and just have turned on a dime to ensure that we can continue to serve those who show up for Heart and Soul. So thank you so very much. I also want to give a quick shout out to the beautification team, because they are still trying to work it out, sheltered in place, and still making certain that it all comes together in a lovely way. Our practitioners are showing up in prayer, and also like it's as if they have catcher mitts so that they can really hold us, because they're continuing their Monday evening sessions, their book read, the A Year in Miracles review of the book. So that's on Monday evenings, as you can see on the slide. It begins at 6:30. It's about, 45 minutes, so 6:30 Pacific time, and just follow the information that you see on the slide that will also be in the recap. If you do not get what we call the recap, which is simply an email that gives you a copy of the slides that I shared during this service, and also the information about what's coming up and how to participate. You know that we are in the throes of our virtual summer school planning and rehearsals, etc. So you'll want to save the date in your calendar for our virtual summer school. So that means wherever you are, you can participate. You may need a little nap during the day, because we begin at 6:30 Pacific time, and it's for 7 consecutive Wednesdays beginning July 8th and going through August 19th. Tammy Hall. Here's the thing, y'all, we are all treated to just a little sample. You know how you go places and you have just a little, they just give you a little taste. It's you know what it is. It's to get the whole thing. Well, the whole thing is available for you on Thursdays. Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time, and you already know it's well worth it. So when you go, break her off a little piece while you're there. I also want to give a shout out to and ask for your support for Marcus Books. This is their 60th year in business, and they are right now the oldest independent Black bookstore. This is brick and mortar, and we want them to continue to be. We've lost so many, so let's support them. There's an active fundraiser going on GoFundMe. We're also supporting Kingston 11 for Jamaican, Caribbean food, and it is phenomenal. They are one of our partners and supporters, and so we're encouraging you to support them, and the idea is they will feed you. So just be in there on a Thursday through Saturday. I think it's 2 p.m. to about 7, and, order in advance, go pick it up. And until such time is the shelter in place is lifted, and we can all gather over there, or, okay. So path to membership. I'm not going to be among the first. That's why I had to check myself. You may see me in the to-go line 6 feet back from somebody, but I'm not going to be pulling up no chair nowhere for a while, just so you know. So that's TMI. I get it. If you are thinking about or want to consider being a member of Heart and Soul Center of Light, this is our very first virtual Path to Membership experience that is on Friday, June 19th. This Friday, 6:30 to 9:30 Pacific time, and then Saturday, the 20th, from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And these are 2 parts to the one session. It's one session. We have part of it on Friday night and part of it on Saturday. So that answers your question of whether you have to be there Friday night and Saturday morning. The answer is yes. Of course you do. We also want you to know, if you have teens or littles, that you can see up on the screen, or they will have it there for you shortly, that we also have a program for them. And you must send an email so that we know, and the teachers can include your young'un once they talk to the parent and all of that. Group prayer following service. Why? Because we need it. Get some. And so this is, again, from our prayer and care village, our practitioners and others who are trained to pray with you. You can dial in and get prayer. It's a beautiful thing when that happens. And in fact, because it's good, and because I'm a little worked up, and my concern here is that if I just start praying, it's going to be another message. I can feel sometime when my message isn't done, I try to squeeze it in anything. So what I'm going to do, because you know that our annual read, our daily devotional, is Marian Williamson's A Year of Miracles, I'm going to read the prayer from here. It's entitled, for day 166, My Day is Made New Today. Praise God. Today I stand for radical change within myself and in my life. My future is reprogrammed in this very moment as I allow God's Spirit to enter here. Nothing is needed in order for this to happen except the free flow of love from my heart. Say that. Today I pray for a miracle. I shall allow it to happen and not resist it. I am open to a new beginning, a life unlike the past. My relationship shall be made new. And my mind shall be made new, not later, but now, not elsewhere, but here, not through pain, but through peace. Dear God, I affirm with all my heart that in you all things are made new. May my mind and body, relationships and attitudes reflect the alchemy of your miraculous power in me and all beings. So be it. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Ashe. Think on these things that move us forward, these things of good report, these things that transform our experience as humans among humans. Destiny and Tammy.
Whatsoever things bring joy and peace, whatsoever things bring harmony, think on these things. When you understand the master plan of love and joy for everyone at hand, think on these things. You must think on these things, for as a man thinks, so it shall be. You must think on these things, for as you think, so it shall be. What good reason to believe everything you want you can achieve when you think on good things? Open up your mind and heart, all hurt and fear will soon depart when you think on good things. You must think on these things, for as a man thinks, so it shall be. You've got to think on these things, for as you think, so it shall be. Give yourself permission to believe